This is not just a routine disagreement between Canada and the United States. It's an exposure of a strategy built on pressure, constant demands, and escalation, now being openly challenged by Canada. When the United States refers to trade irritants, Canada is responding with something far more serious: violations. Violations of a trade agreement both nations signed, and that distinction changes everything. Because this is no longer about negotiation, it's about accountability. In this video, we break down how Mark Carney pushed back against that narrative, why analysts are supporting his stance, and what this could mean for the future of Canada-US relations under Donald Trump. At the core of this debate is the language being used. The United States has framed its actions as minor trade irritants, issues that can be smoothed over with small concessions. Canada, however, is rejecting that framing entirely. Because imposing 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum, along with 25% tariffs on automobiles and additional measures on key sectors, are not minor issues. They are clear violations of a trade agreement. And once something is defined as a violation, it stops being negotiable in the usual sense and becomes something to confront directly. This is where the U.S. approach raises deeper concerns. The expectation seems to be that Canada should make concessions first just to begin negotiations. But that contradicts a fundamental principle. Negotiations are built on mutual exchange, not one-sided giving. Analysts are increasingly pointing out that the current stance resembles a give-first model without any guaranteed return, which is less negotiation and more pressure. Canada is refusing to operate under those terms. What makes the situation even more striking is that the consequences are not one-sided. These tariffs are not only impacting Canadian industries, they are also affecting the American economy. Supply chains between the two countries are deeply integrated. Disrupting them creates instability on both sides. This is not a targeted pressure tactic. It's a policy that risks weakening a shared economic system. Even within the United States, there is growing recognition that this approach may not be sustainable. Canada's position has now become clear and deliberate. No concessions simply to start talks. Not as a gesture, and certainly not under pressure. Past experience has shown that early concessions don't stabilize negotiations. They often lead to more demands. This time Canada is choosing to protect its leverage from the outset. Another key issue here is the assumption of dependency. The idea that Canada needs the United States more than the reverse. But in reality, the relationship is interdependent. The United States relies on Canadian energy, critical minerals, and tightly linked supply chains. This is not a one-sided equation, and once that's acknowledged, the logic behind one-sided pressure begins to fall apart. Ultimately, this is more than just a trade dispute. It represents a shift in Canada's approach, from reacting to pressure to defining its own position. By calling violations what they are, challenging flawed assumptions and refusing automatic concessions, Canada is changing the dynamic.